What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, I am here on a new project site, and what I thought I would do in this video is talk about what it takes to get to your demo and building permit for a new construction project such as this. So you can see I've got my old house here that we're hopefully knocking down shortly. We're finalizing a couple of details, but like I said, I want to talk about some of the details in that process. Because if you haven't done new construction, or even if you've done one or two, it could still be a little confusing in terms of all the things that go into the application process, the permitting process, and even the demo preparation process to get ultimately to your demo permit and building permit. So that's what we're going to talk about this video. Let's get at it. So let's kind of start at more from the beginning, right? And one of the things you do when you're first buying a new construction project is you got to get all of your docs in place, right? And for new construction, typically, at a high level, some of the things you need to do, you need to engage your civil engineer, you're going to engage your structural engineer, and you're going to engage your architect, right? And basically what happens is your civil engineer will typically do what's called a survey, right? You're going to get an initial survey done. You're going to take that survey, then you're going to work with your architect, right? The architect's then going to be able to plop that new building that you're proposing onto, and basically do all the architectural plans based on that survey. Once you're done, then the civil engineer will also do, things like proposed surveys. In these new construction projects, they're going to have to map out where all the new utility lines are going to. We're going to have to do some drainage chambers here, where the drainage chambers going, where the walkways. So all of that is going to go into a proposed site plan, right? And all those details will be spec'd out. And then simultaneously too, once our architect flushes out all of our plans, then we're also going to engage the structural engineer once we're good with all the plans. And the structural engineer then is going to spec out all the structural details required from the foundation, through framing and any other specific details. Now, that's not a fully exclusive process, right? Every municipality and every area could be a little bit different. There's some other things too that you're gonna have to get involved, like energy, your energy rater. You're gonna get energy certificates. Some municipalities you're gonna have to go to their water and sewer commission potentially. So there's a lot of different potentially moving pieces. At a high level, those are your big ones, right? Your civil, your structural, your architectural. You're going to put all those together in a package. That's going to be a big part of your submissions. And now let's talk about actually what you have to do to get to your demo permit, right? So all of that you need for your building permit, right? That's part of you're showing the city what you're actually proposing, what you're going to plan, like, where your house is going to go, all the things, all the details we talked about. But how do we actually get ready to demo something like this, right? Again, this is an old existing structure. How does, what actually happens in order to be able to get permission to get the permit to demo this? So most towns, there's a lot of different ways they operate, but generally there's a demo checklist for most towns, and you can kind of go through it and see what needs to be done for that town in order to receive your permit. Now, I'm going to go over some high level details. A lot of them are pretty similar between most towns, as you can imagine. There's obviously some discrepancies, but generally what you're going to do first is you want to cut and cap all your utilities, right? So this house obviously has an existing water and sewer line. That's how the old house is getting their utilities in. So we wanted to cut and cap those, right? So that there's no active utilities going in. Same thing with any gas lines or any electrical lines. So this did have an active gas line. We had to remove the meter. We had to cut the gas line coming into the property, right? Because you obviously don't want any active gas lines once we're demoing this and then eventually gonna dig into the dirt. Same thing with electrical, right? We wanna make sure all the electrical is dead coming into the property. Again, you don't want live wires. That should be pretty obvious. And then you're gonna do some other standard items would be, you might have to do some asbestos remediation, right? So, this is obviously a very old house. A lot of these old houses use some sort of asbestos material. So you're gonna have to bring in a contractor, right? Remediate any asbestos because, obviously we don't wanna demo the house and release any sort of toxic material into the environment, right? So we're gonna make sure that's all treated first before we actually go demo the house. Now, a few other final details for you guys. You're obviously gonna need to get construction fencing. You can see right here, we actually just got our fencing installed here. You wanna make, you would basically wanna secure your site. That should be pretty obvious. We're gonna do erosion control. We're about to do that here on this site. So you're gonna do erosion control around your entire perimeter. Again, kind of keep the site safe, make sure nothing's spilling over. So that will need to be installed. You're gonna do things like rodent control. You can actually see we have some rodent boxes on the corner over there. Again, you wanna make sure that there's no pest issues during demolition and after as well. So we're gonna do some rodent control, some pest work. We're gonna get a certified letter from our company, stating that we did everything that we needed to do. So those are some of the other final items, that you're gonna apply. Again, some towns, some cities might require some other items. We've had to get sign-offs from the police department. We've had to get sign-offs from the fire department. If you have oil in your house, it could be a little bit of a different process. You're gonna need to get that, removed in a certified manner. So you just gotta have to follow your process, but those are the key, at a high level, those are a lot of the big items that are gonna be similar no matter where you demo. And once you get all those are your pre-demo items that then you go to the town and then actually say, hey, we are ready to actually come in and demolish the house. Now, again, as some final words, again, make sure you know exactly what your particular town that you're working with requires. Some towns you need to get the demo permit approved in order then to apply for the actual building permit that allows you to actually then, pour your foundation and do the new structure. Some you have to finish the demolition, some you just need the actual demo. So just make sure you understand where you're working with so that you know the exact process your town needs to see, so that you can have a smooth operation between your demolition and then ultimately your building permit and the new construction of your project. So hopefully that makes sense. I know I gave you guys a lot of info, but between all the documentation and then all the pre-demo items, those are a lot of the stuff that we do, that you might not necessarily see behind the scenes before even like an old house like this gets knocked down, right? So there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Make sure you also plan for it from a time perspective, right? Because it does take some time to get all these things in place. And of course, if you're doing a project, you're probably borrowing money from a bank. So that, that's all additional cost you have to incur and be ready for, right? So all these details matter. Knowing your timelines matter. Really getting this tight is super, super important. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.